Hey there, it's me, Jen Winkler. I am a functional health and hormone coach, and I have some interesting information to teach you today. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt inflamed for no reason, or what seems like no reason? Like maybe your joints hurt, your brain feels foggy, your skin's breaking out, maybe your energy's just gone, but you're actually eating clean, exercising, and doing all the things right? Well, maybe it might not be the food. I think a lot of people tend to just jump right to what food am I eating? And it could be, but there could be more to it. It might be what's actually leaking out of your gut. Today, we're going to dive into endotoxins, also known as LPS, one of the most underrated root causes of chronic inflammation, hormone chaos, and fatigue that I typically see in my clients. By the end of this video, you're going to understand what endotoxins are, how they cause problems in the body, what LPS actually means, and most importantly, how to get rid of them naturally. So if you've ever felt inflamed or stuck, even when you're doing everything right, stick around. This might be the missing piece of your puzzle. Okay, first thing, what are endotoxins? Let's start really simple. Endotoxins are a toxic substance that come from a certain type of bacteria, and that bacteria is typically gram-negative bacteria. Now, those live in your gut. The main compound inside these bacteria that cause trouble is called LPS, or lipopolysaccharide. Now, when these bacteria die off, multiply, overgrow, they begin to release LPS into your gut environment. Now, normally that's not a big deal because your gut lining should act like a really strong barrier, keeping the toxins inside the digestive tract where they belong. But when the gut barrier becomes leaky, and that is when there's like these open holes, maybe it could happen because of stress. It could happen with processed foods, alcohol, antibiotics, low stomach acid. Any of those things can cause the gut barrier, instead of being nice and strong, to become leaky. Those endotoxins slip through those little holes and those cracks and enter your bloodstream. And once they hit your bloodstream, your immune system basically sounds an alarm and is telling your body, hey, invader, invader. It's like it sees the LPS molecule and says, oh no, there's an invader here. So it launches a full-on inflammatory response. I'm going to give you an analogy of what this looks like. Okay. So most people drink coffee, right? If you're watching, most likely you're a coffee drinker. If you're not, you've seen someone make coffee. So picture your gut as a coffee filter. It's supposed to let nutrients through, but not let the coffee grounds through. So if the filter were to rip a little or have a few holes, those little toxic grounds, the endotoxins, leak right through and end up in places that they're not supposed to be. No one likes a gritty coffee, right? So no one likes a leaky gut either. So that's pretty much a very simplified version of what endotoxins are. So now we're going to talk about how endotoxins impact your body. So once LPS hits your bloodstream, it causes a cascade of inflammation. Your immune system releases cytokines, things like TNF alpha, interleukin 6, interleukin 1. All of those drive inflammation everywhere. People usually think of inflammation just as joint pain, but it can manifest in many different ways. So this is where the symptoms start to pop up. We're going to talk about some of the main ways that endotoxins actually mess with your health. So the first one is brain and mood. LPS can cross the blood-brain barrier and trigger brain inflammation. That's where things like I can't think straight, or your brain fog comes, or you just can't remember. You might be anxious, you might be tired, or you just kind of feel off. That would be the LPS crossing the blood-brain barrier and triggering brain inflammation. The next way endotoxins mess with your health is metabolism. So endotoxemia, which means too much endotoxin in the blood, is linked with insulin resistance, prediabetes, and fatty liver. Your cells basically stop responding to insulin properly. The next way is hormones. So LPS puts a major strain on your liver, and your liver is where you metabolize and clear out excess estrogen. This is very important, especially for women. You do not want your estrogen to continually circulate over and over, and that can cause estrogen dominance, lowered progesterone, a lot of different symptoms. Anything any symptoms that are associated with estrogen dominance in a sense. So if the liver is busy cleaning up endotoxins, estrogen clearance gets backed up. And then that's where you will get symptoms like PMS, heavy periods, mood swings, and the classic hormonal bloat, things like that. And the last one is your energy. I get so many clients that is their main goal. I just want to have energy again. So when your immune system is constantly fighting off toxins, your mitochondria, your little energy factories that people see it as mitochondria, they begin to slow down. So you feel tired even if you're sleeping and eating well. So basically, endotoxins light a slow, steady fire of inflammation inside of your body. It's not enough to make you sick in a medical sense, but it's enough to make you feel off every single day. Okay, so now that you know what they are, we're going to talk about what causes endotoxins to rise in the first place. So the first thing is leaky gut. We already started touching upon this. This is the number one reason. Every single person I have done a stool test on has had leaky gut or some sort of microbiome imbalance, inflammation, all those kind of things. I have never had somebody actually have a good gut test. With leaky gut, your gut lining is made up of tight junctions, right? I showed you that here. Little seals that keep the bad stuff out. Stress, alcohol, processed foods, seed oils, NSAIDs such as ibuprofen, even intense exercise without recovery, those things can begin to open junctions. So you begin getting leaky gut. Anything that can be a stressor on the system, if it's a constant chronic stressor, the gut starts opening up. And then, like I said earlier, certain things like endotoxins begin to leak through and into the bloodstream. The next one is gut dysbiosis. So this means that the bad bacteria in your gut outnumber the good bacteria. It doesn't necessarily mean you have a high amount of bad bacteria. You could have just a little bit of overgrowth or bad bacteria, but not have enough of the good bacteria, and that would also indicate dysbiosis. But most of the time, the bad is crowding out the good, or you don't have enough of the good to get rid of the bad. So things like SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, candida overgrowth, chronic constipation, all of those can lead to LPS production. If you're not going to the bathroom every day, if you're not pooping every day, those toxins literally can sit in there and ferment and reabsorb. The third one is poor bile flow. So bile isn't just for digesting fats. It's also an antimicrobial. It helps to neutralize the endotoxins. So if you don't have enough bile flow, which most people think of digesting fats, that can definitely be an issue as well. If your gallbladder is sluggish, those toxins hang around even longer. So making sure that gallbladder is flushing through, eating enough fats for that gallbladder to continually be working is a big piece of it. Some people do need some things to help with that as well, and we'll get into that later in the video. The fourth thing that causes endotoxins to rise is processed meals. So research actually shows that eating a large, high-fat, high-carb, processed meal can cause a temporary spike in endotoxins in the blood. That's why some people feel food hangovers after fast food or heavy meals. Think Thanksgiving dinner. A lot of times there's things in Thanksgiving dinner that is processed. And after eating so much on that day, you get this kind of food hangover that you could take a nap. No, it's not the tryptophan in the turkey. It is the inflammatory response of those ultra-processed foods. And the last one is chronic stress, because cortisol can thin your gut lining over time. I speak from experience on this one. So stress alone, just stress alone, can lead to a leaky gut and more LPS in circulation. And a little bit of a side tangent on this one, but if you have that stress, which causes leaky gut, that can then cause hormonal imbalance, thyroid disorders, and a lot of other things. So having a healthy gut is very important for a lot of the rest of your symptoms. All right, so how do we heal and lower the endotoxins? We're going to talk about that now and how to actually fix it. So this is the part that everybody loves. They're like, Jen, just tell me what to do. And I can't technically do that without knowing you and your medical background and doing testing. But I'm going to still give you a little bit of an insight of what we can do. When we start lowering endotoxin load, the symptoms will shift fast. So we're going to go through this step by step. So step one, seal the gut barrier. You've got to repair the intestinal lining. So for things like that, I like using L-glutamine, That is the number one amino acid for gut healing. You could just use L-glutamine and typically get fantastic results. The other one is zinc carnosine that supports mucosal repair, and a lot of people are low in zinc as it is. I like to be careful with the zinc supplementation. A lot of times I will pair it with copper because we also don't want to get that mineral imbalance. And the last one is collagen or colostrum. So great source of collagen. You don't have to buy the powder. It's just making bone broth and using that. Or buying a bone broth that's actually gelatinous. That can help rebuild the gut lining. And it shouldn't take too long for this to happen. Some practical things that you can do as well is slow down when you eat. Actually chew your food. Pay attention. Think about when you're chewing and you're chewing it, and pay attention to the texture and the taste and how much is in there, and making sure you're chewing it till it's almost liquid. I am somebody who's very guilty of not doing this and rushing through because, mom life, that's how things are. You're just eating while you're going, which is another thing you can stop doing is turn off your phone when you're eating, turn off the TV, eat at the dinner table with your family, with friends, and make it enjoyable. And just remember, digestion doesn't start down here. Digestion starts with your brain and the saliva. Whatever you're doing, when you're chewing, you're signaling your stomach to prepare for the food that's coming. But if you're busy and occupied and you're not chewing well, your stomach is not going to prepare well either. Okay, step 2 is support gut motility and bile flow. So endotoxins need to leave your body. You don't want them to get recycled. You want them to get out. So the best way to get them out is not only urine, but your daily bowel movements. If you're not having daily bowel movements, you need to do something about that. So maybe magnesium citrate, taking some of that. Some people need to increase fiber, but some people need to decrease fiber. It's very individualized. Another one is making sure you're getting enough water with electrolytes. That is really important if you have been constipated to be able to flush your bowels out. Another thing you can do for gut motility and bile flow is drinking lemon water, dandelion tea, digestive bitters. Any of those before meals will help to stimulate the bile flow, the bile, as well as the stomach acid. Another one is taurine and ginger. Those are also great for stimulating bile. Now, if you've had your gallbladder removed, you may need some bile salts or ox bile, digestive enzymes, any of those kind of things. Those are very individualized depending on what kind of diet you follow, so you want to talk to your practitioner about that one. Step 3 is to rebuild a healthy microbiome. Most people, like I said, come to me, we do stool tests, and their microbiome are definitely not healthy. So we want to build more of the good guys in your gut, and there's various ways you can do this. The first one is with a good quality probiotic. I never give generalized probiotics to anyone because, again, it depends on what your microbiome looks like, and I do the stool test to measure that. But the probiotics I tend to gravitate towards is Megaspore, L-reuteri, S. boulardii, Saccharomyces boulardii. Seed is a good brand. So all of those are really beneficial, but it just depends on the person, their symptoms, and what their test looks like. Taking a good quality HMO prebiotic is a really good one too because your probiotics feed on the prebiotics. So again, depending on the diet of somebody, they may need to get a prebiotic. But if they are somebody who eats a variety of plant fibers, so potatoes, veggies, fruits, any of those kind of things, a lot of them contain prebiotic fibers, which will feed the good probiotics. But if you are somebody who is still sticking to a ketogenic, low-carb, or carnivorous diet, you will need to supplement with some HMO prebiotic. Another thing you can do for the healthy microbiome that's really easy and simple is including fermented foods. So sauerkraut, kefir, kimchi, Greek yogurt, and not just any Greek yogurt, but I personally just like to make my own. And I put my own types of probiotics in there. So I purchase L-reuteri, L-gaceri, and I'll switch them up sometimes with other ones as well to help with the diversity. And it's really easy. If you've never made your own Greek yogurt, I do have a video on that, how to do it, where it's really simple and not messy. And it takes me 5 minutes to set up and 5 minutes to clean up. It's really cool. The last thing, and I would say the most important is for all of these steps really, is to avoid processed sugar and seed oils. They feed the bad guys. So getting rid of those is really, really crucial. More than any particular lifestyle or diet is getting rid of the processed sugar and seed oils. So this is where, like I said, personalized gut testing can be a game changer because it shows which bacteria are overgrown and which ones need support. All right, step 4 is supporting the liver. So your liver is working overtime when endotoxins are high. We need to support it in every way that we can. So how do we support it? So eat cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, any of the ones that work for you. Some of them work better for others. Personally, I can do well with broccoli and cauliflower. Brussels sprouts, I'm not quite there yet. So all of these help support detox pathways. Use nutrients like choline, which is in eggs, milk thistle, adequate protein. Make sure you stay hydrated, and definitely avoid alcohol for a while. Doesn't mean you have to do it forever, but at least during this healing process, you want to avoid that. There are some supplements I usually recommend, but I'm not going to again because I don't know who you are. But in general, one of the ones I really like is by Body Bile called phosphatidylcholine. And that one does a myriad of things, not just supporting the liver, but for me personally, that was the only thing that helped my liver to heal was using that one. But it also helps with heavy metal detox, with mold detox, with cell membrane renewal, like all kinds of things. It's one of those supplements I will never be without, let's just say. Step 5 is a biggie, and I think one of the hardest ones for most people, and that is to manage your stress and lifestyle. So as we've mentioned a number of times, cortisol impacts gut integrity directly. So making sure you're getting sunlight in the morning, move your body, breathe deeply, not in your chest like I just did, but breathe deeply in your stomach, and prioritize sleep. So getting a good sleep environment, making it cold and dark really helps to get that restorative sleep. Meditation, if you are somebody who prays, making sure you're getting that meditation and prayer daily. Gentle movement like walking or stretching, any of those kind of things that also help to move lymph, rebounding. All of those help support detox and reduce inflammation. One of the things that a lot of people think managed stress means is getting rid of the stress. And while to a degree that can be true, if there are certain stressors you can control, yes, you want to do that. But a lot of times it's learning how to get through it and how to manage it. So notice I didn't say stress elimination, I said stress management. So to wrap this up, endotoxins aren't just a gut problem. They're a whole body problem. They impact hormones, your metabolism, your brain, your skin, everything. So if you've been feeling inflamed, puffy, tired, or just hormonally off and you can't figure out why, it might be time to look at your gut and your endotoxin load. So you can test this through stool testing. Some people use GI Map. I have personally been using Tiny Health because it's more affordable for most clients. GI Map I'll use if they have actual strong IBD symptoms, but Tiny Health has given me lots of information. So if that is something you're interested in, you can sign up for a session with me and I can order that and review it and create a protocol for you. Or if you want to try to do it on your own, there is a link in the description for you to order your own test, and you can meet with one of their coaches as well. But honestly, even just supporting gut and liver health will make a massive difference. If you were to just go through these steps that I mentioned in here, stick to that for a month or two, you will see a massive difference. If you don't see 100%, then I'd say go and do some stool testing. Unless you want to do it right away, then go for it. If this video clicked for you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If you could ask me one question about healing your gut, balancing your hormones naturally, any of that, what would it be? Throw it in the comments. I might answer it in a future video. And don't forget to subscribe if you love learning about women's hormones, gut health, functional healing, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.